disappeared from their lives the moment I learned the truth. A decade later, my son found me and yelled, "You owe me an explanation!" I took a deep breath and handed him a DNA test. "I owe you the truth, not my life." I was 27 when I met her. Her name was Rachel. She was 24, a nurse at a hospital in Chicago. I was working as a systems analyst for a tech company. We met at a mutual friend's party. She had this infectious laugh and a smile that could light up a room. We hit it off immediately. After a year of dating, we got married. Our wedding was simple but beautiful, held at a small chapel in the suburbs. 2 years later, Rachel gave birth to a baby boy, whom we named Lucas. He had her eyes and my nose, or so I thought. I was overjoyed. Being a father was everything I ever wanted. Life was good. I worked hard to provide for my family. Rachel went back to work part-time, and we hired a nanny to help with Lucas. We had our ups and downs, like any couple, but nothing out of the ordinary. Or so I believed. When Lucas was around 5 years old, I started noticing changes in Rachel. She became distant, often glued to her phone, and would go out with her friends more frequently. Whenever I asked, she'd brush it off, saying she needed some time to unwind. One night, I came home early from a business trip. I wanted to surprise Rachel and Lucas. As I entered our condo, I heard laughter coming from the living room. I quietly approached and saw Rachel on a video call with a man I didn't recognize. They were laughing and flirting. My heart sank. I confronted her immediately. She claimed it was just a friend from college and that I was overreacting. I wanted to believe her, for the sake of our family. But the seed of doubt had been planted. A few months later, I received an anonymous email. It contained photos of Rachel with the same man from the video call, taken at various locations around Chicago. They were clearly more than just friends. I felt betrayed, angry, and heartbroken. I confronted Rachel again, showing her the photos. She broke down and admitted to the affair. She claimed it was a mistake, that she still loved me, and begged for forgiveness. I was torn. I loved her, but the trust was shattered. I decided to take some time away to think things through. I went to stay with my parents in Denver for a while. While in Denver, my cousin, who is a doctor, suggested something that hadn't crossed my mind. He asked if I had ever considered a DNA test for Lucas. At first, I was offended. But the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. If Rachel had been unfaithful, there was a chance Lucas might not be my biological son. I returned to Chicago and secretly took a DNA sample from Lucas, using a toothbrush. I sent it along with my own sample to a reputable lab. 2 weeks later, the results arrived. I wasn't the father. I felt like my world had collapsed. Everything I believed in was a lie. I confronted Rachel one last time. She confessed that Lucas's biological father was the man from the photos, someone she had reconnected with during a high school reunion. I couldn't take it anymore. I packed my things and left. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I just needed to escape. I moved to Seattle, changed my name, and started a new life. I found work as a freelance IT consultant, keeping a low profile. I cut all ties with my past. I didn't want to be reminded of the pain. 10 years passed. I was living a quiet life in Seattle, enjoying the anonymity it provided. I had made peace with my past, or so I thought. One afternoon, there was a knock on my door. I opened it to find a young man standing there, around 15 years old. He looked familiar. "Are you my dad?" he asked. It was Lucas. I was speechless. He looked just like Rachel. I invited him in, and we sat down. "You owe me an explanation," he yelled. "Why did you leave us?" I took a deep breath and handed him a copy of the DNA test results. "I owe you the truth, not my life," I said. Lucas didn't look at the paper right away. His hands were clenched. His jaw was tight. I could tell he didn't come all this way just to read a lab result. He came for answers, and probably for a father. But that wasn't something I could give him anymore. He finally looked down. His eyes scanned the page slowly. His expression didn't change right away, but I saw something crack inside him. His bottom lip trembled, but he held it in. He stood up from the couch and took a step back. "So this is it?" he asked. "You just left because you weren't my biological dad?" I didn't say anything at first. My throat was dry. "No. I left because everything I built was a lie. Your mom, she lied to me for years. She looked me in the eye every day and let me believe you were mine. I loved you like a son. And she let me." Lucas looked down, rubbing his face hard. Then he laughed. Sharp and bitter. "She told me you left because you couldn't handle responsibility. She said you were selfish. That you abandoned us." I blinked hard. "That's not true." "I know that now," he snapped. "Do you know how many birthdays I cried through? How many nights I stared at the door, thinking you'd walk in? I hated you. I hated you for not even saying goodbye." There it was. The part one always feared most. I stood up too. "I didn't say goodbye because I couldn't. I didn't want to ruin your life. I thought it was better that you grew up with the man who was actually your father." He narrowed his eyes. "You mean Jake?" I froze. "You know his name?" Lucas scoffed. "Yeah. He's been around since I was 10. Married Mom when I was 12. He's the reason I started asking questions." "What do you mean?" "Because he treated me like I was some project. Like he was making up for something. And when I asked about you, Mom shut me down every time. Always said you were a mistake. A coward." "But Jake slipped once. Said something about how he owed you. That didn't make sense to me. So I started digging. He pulled out his phone and showed me a picture, an old one. Me, Rachel, and baby Lucas, sitting on the front porch of our old condo in Chicago. I didn't even know that photo existed. That picture was hidden in a box in her closet. You don't hide things unless they matter." I looked at the photo. My hand shook. I hadn't seen that moment in years. And even though I tried to move on, part of me felt something twist deep inside my chest. "She never told you anything?" I asked. "She told me pieces. Twisted ones. That you were cold. That you left without warning. That you stopped loving us." I sat back down. My knees were weak. "She lied to both of us." Lucas put the DNA paper down and looked at me. "Why didn't you fight? Why didn't you come back? Even just to see me? Even if I wasn't yours, you still raised me. You still made me breakfast. Taught me to ride a bike." That was real. I wanted to answer. But everything I said would sound weak. Then he said something I wasn't ready for. "Mom's in the hospital." I looked up. "What?" "She has pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. They just found it 2 months ago." A lump formed in my throat. "She asked me to find you." That didn't make sense. "She what?" Lucas nodded. "She said you deserved the truth. That she owed you. But also, she wanted to see you one last time." I stood there frozen. All the anger, all the years, came crashing down like a wave. "I don't know if I can see her," I said quietly. Lucas didn't speak for a long time. Then he said, "Whether you see her or not, that's on you. But I'm here. And I'm not leaving until I understand what happened. All of it." There was more than pain in his eyes now. There was something else, like he was holding back something even deeper. "What else haven't you told me?" I asked. He reached into his jacket and pulled out another paper. Folded neatly. Worn. "She left this in the will. She wrote it years ago. But it's meant for you." I stared at the letter. My hand hovered over it. Then he added, "Jake's not my father either." That sentence hit me harder than anything else. "What?" He nodded slowly. "Turns out he found out the same way you did. Just didn't leave. But I saw it in his face. I was never his." The room was spinning. "Who is your father?" He shrugged. That's what I'm trying to find out. But I hoped it was you. I really did. My breath caught. He placed the letter in my hands. Read it. Then decide if you want to come back with me. And just like that, he turned and walked toward the door. He paused at the threshold, waiting. I looked down at the envelope with my name on it, written in Rachel's handwriting. I hadn't opened it yet. I wasn't ready. But Lucas was waiting. And everything I thought I knew, about my past, about Rachel, about Lucas, was unraveling right in front of me. Lucas stood by the door, one hand gripping the knob, his back stiff like he was forcing himself not to break again. I sat on the edge of the couch, the envelope burning in my hand. My fingers trembled as I opened it. Rachel's handwriting filled the page. I hadn't seen it in over a decade. If you're reading this, it means I'm probably gone or close to it. I never thought I'd get a second chance to explain things to you. But I owe you the truth. All of it. My hands shook harder. Lucas, he isn't yours, and he isn't Jake's either. His real father was someone I was involved with briefly, before we got serious. His name was Daniel. We never stayed in touch. I didn't even tell him I was pregnant. I was scared. You were stable. You were kind. I loved you. I thought I could make it right by choosing you. My chest went cold. When the truth came out and you left, I didn't fight because I knew I was wrong. I was ashamed. I kept lying because I thought it would protect Lucas. But over the years, I saw what that lie did to him. And to Jake. And to me. I stopped reading for a moment and looked at Lucas. He was quiet. Watching me. I never stopped loving you. I just didn't deserve you. But there's one more thing I need you to know. My eyes moved quickly to the next lines. Lucas has a sister. You don't know about her. She's yours. I found out I was pregnant shortly after you left. I didn't have the heart to find you again. I raised her alone for a while, then told everyone she was Jake's daughter. Her name is Riley. She's 9 now. I stared at the page. The words blurred. What the hell? Lucas saw my face and rushed over. What? What did it say? I looked up at him, still stunned. You have a sister. And she's mine. Lucas's mouth dropped open. What? Rachel had another child after I left. She never told me. Said she didn't have the courage to bring me back into it. Lucas stepped back, jaw clenching. So, I was never yours. But she had another kid and just, what? Hid her? I nodded slowly. She told people she was Jake's daughter. Lucas started pacing. So I'm not Jake's. I'm not yours. And I have a sister who is. Jesus. I grabbed the edge of the table, trying to steady my thoughts. Do you know her? Riley? Lucas stopped pacing. Yeah. She's sweet. I never thought about it, but now that I do, she doesn't look like Jake at all. She probably looks like me. I muttered. It was too much. Too fast. 1 second I was living in complete silence, and the next, I had a son I raised but didn't father, a daughter I never knew existed, and a dying ex-wife who'd buried all this under years of lies. Lucas sat back down, his voice quieter now. You need to come back with me. I don't know if I can. Riley deserves to know you. And honestly? So do I. Even if you're not my dad, I still remember you being one. That matters to me. I couldn't speak. I just stared at the letter. Then Lucas whispered something that shook me even harder. She calls you the man in the pictures. I looked up. She's seen your photos. From old albums. From boxes Mom kept hidden. When she found them, she asked Rachel who you were. And you know what she said? I shook my head. She said that's someone I loved more than I ever admitted. Lucas stared at me, eyes wide and burning. She loved you. I don't think she ever stopped. My throat tightened. I'm not here to force you into anything, he said. But we have a few days. She's in hospice now. She probably won't last a month. Riley thinks you're just a stranger from an old story. You could change that. I nodded slowly. But inside I didn't feel calm. I felt like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, with a choice to leap into a storm of old love, broken trust, and a child I never got to hold. Or stay where I was, safe, cold, and alone. The letter slipped from my hand. I need to think, I whispered. Lucas stood, grabbed his backpack, and looked me dead in the eye. She's at Glenwood Hospice in Oak Park. Room 112. He walked to the door, paused, then said, I'll be back in 2 days. I hope you come with me. And then he was gone. I was alone again. But for the first time in years, I didn't feel like it would stay that way. 2 days passed. I didn't sleep much. I barely ate. I sat in silence, reading and rereading Rachel's letter until the edges tore and the ink smudged from my fingers. The news of Riley had broken something loose in me, something I didn't know was still there. Love. Resentment. Regret. All tangled up with the years I'd spent running from everything. I booked a ticket back to Chicago. The hospice was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that makes your chest feel tight just walking through the halls. I hadn't set foot in this city since I left. The cab ride from the airport felt like a funeral procession. Room 112. I knocked softly. No answer. I opened the door slowly. She was there, Rachel. Lying in a bed that looked way too big for her now. Pale. Weak. Tubes in her arm. Her once bright eyes barely open. But she saw me. She smiled. You came. Her voice was soft, almost air. Lucas was by her side, eyes already red. And next to him stood a little girl with dark eyes and a curious stare. Riley. She looked at me like she was trying to figure out why I seemed familiar. Hi. I whispered, unsure if I should move closer. Rachel motioned for me. I walked over slowly. Lucas stepped aside. Riley stayed close to his leg, watching. Rachel reached for my hand. I gave it to her. I didn't think you would. I almost didn't, I said. You gave me every reason not to. She closed her eyes. I know. I loved you. I would have died for you. I gave you everything. I know, she said again, crying now. I ruined it. Then it happened. Lucas broke. You didn't just ruin that, he said, voice rising. You messed up everything. You lied to me my whole life. You let me believe I was his son. Then you let Jake do the same thing. Then you had another kid and lied about her too. What the hell, Mom? Rachel tried to sit up, but couldn't. I thought I was protecting you all. I didn't mean to hurt, protect? Lucas snapped. You lied to 3 people about who they were to each other. You don't call that damage? Riley's eyes filled with tears. Why are you yelling? Lucas turned away, hands on his head. God, I'm sorry. I didn't mean, Riley, I didn't mean to scare you. I stepped in. Lucas. Let's take a breath. He looked at me broken. You were the only dad I ever knew. And she stole that from both of us. Rachel was sobbing now. I didn't know what to do. I was scared. I was selfish. I thought I could fix it, and then I was too deep in it. I thought I had more time. We stood in that room with so much weight no one could carry. Then the door opened. Jake walked in. He froze when he saw me. What the hell? Lucas turned. You didn't tell him I was coming? Rachel shook her head weakly. Jake's face darkened. So this is how it is now. I raised my hand. I'm not here for drama. Just the truth. Jake scoffed. Truth? That's rich coming from this family. Stop, Rachel said, voice cracking. No. You don't get to control this anymore. Jake snapped. You lied to me too. For years. I raised a boy that wasn't mine. You let me think he was. I never meant to hurt you. Rachel said. I was going to tell you. When? Jake shouted. When he graduated? When he got married? Or maybe on your deathbed? Oh, right now? Because you're dying, we all have to gather around and forgive you. The room was spiraling. Lucas looked crushed. Riley was crying. I was clenching my fists so hard my nails bit into my palms. Enough, I said. This doesn't help anyone. Jake turned to me. You got to run. You disappeared. I stayed. I took the hits. You don't get to show up and play hero now. I didn't come to be a hero, I said, voice shaking. I came because a dying woman asked me to. Because a boy I raised showed up at my door begging for the truth. Because a little girl out there thinks I'm a storybook ghost. Jake looked at Riley, who was clinging to Lucas's arm. Rachel whispered, Please. Please stop. Silence settled over us. Then Rachel said one last thing. I know none of you owe me forgiveness. But I needed you to know. I needed to stop the lies before I left this world. Lucas bent down, took her hand. You should have told us sooner. I know, she whispered. Jake turned and walked out without another word. She passed away 4 days later. We were all there, me, Lucas, and Riley. Jake didn't come back. The funeral was quiet. No big crowd. Just us and a few nurses who had grown attached to her. After the service, Lucas and I sat on the old steps of the house where he grew up. She asked me once if I hated her. He said. I didn't know how to answer. What would you say now? I don't know. Maybe that I hated what she did. But I still loved her. I nodded. That's fair. Riley came over, holding a picture she drew. Is this okay? She handed it to me. It was a drawing of her, me, and Lucas. Stick figures smiling. She'd written my family at the top in big, crooked letters. I felt something break again, but in a good way. Lucas smiled. I think I want to stay in touch, he said. Even if you're not my dad. You were. I looked at Riley. And I want to know her. We could figure this out, he said. Bit by bit. I nodded. It wouldn't be easy. There was too much history. Too much pain. But in the mess, maybe something real could still be salvaged. Maybe we could build something new. Not from lies. But from truth. I don't know if I'll ever fully forgive Rachel. Or myself. Or Jake. But I know this much, I stopped running. I chose to stay. And maybe, just maybe, that's the first real step I've taken in a long, long time. I owe you the truth, not my life. But maybe now I can give a little of both.